welcome to the Dr. DC podcast. My name is Colin, and next to me is the Doctor himself.
Hello.
And as always, we are joined by our producer, Richard.
Hoy hoy.
Each week, we talk about the weird and wonderful world of DC while fielding questions from listeners like you. While in the loudest din or hush profound, my ears catch evil's slightest sound. Let those who toll out evil's knell beware my power, the F-sharp bell. Yeah, I fucking nailed that.
You did, actually.
You did, yeah, I'm impressed.
This What Colin Does comes from Shank L. That sounds like I shouldn't say it.
Shankle.
On iTunes reviews with a 5-star review, he goes on to say, "This is the type of podcast that makes a day at work easier to get through. The Doctor is very knowledgeable without ever coming off as pompous, like you may expect from a hardcore fan talking to non-comic book readers."
Thank you, plebeians, for enjoying that.
And he's back.
Oh, clearly you've only heard him on the air.
Where's my drink?
He's insufferable in person, I promise. And in news, the Doctor is insufferable in person.
That's not news.
All right.
No comment.
In history, in news, Iris becomes a speedster in latest trailer for The Flash.
I think by the time this episode comes out, this episode of The Flash might be out.
So it'll be in the past?
But yeah, so if you're listening to this, it was the past. But basically,
spoiler alert.
I think the idea is that in an upcoming episode, or this upcoming episode, they come up against a metahuman who has the ability to like swap people's DNA, and so Iris and Barry, I think, get swapped. So she becomes a speedster, and Barry has no powers.
Whoa!
But they had released like a promo image of like Cisco makes her like a speedster suit and all that stuff. So Iris gets to be a superhero at least for one episode.
That's rad.
And that's what's coming up. I imagine it's going to be one of the bus metas that they've been sort of chasing down through this season, as DeVoe has been sort of like moving all the chess pieces into place. Because I think there's still 3 of those metahumans outstanding. So that's probably one of them. Yeah.
Suicide Squad 2 may start filming in October.
Yeah.
And
so
maybe not.
Well, no, I mean, I think it is.
Maybe November.
What are you hoping for with this?
Whew.
Oh, more Jared Leto, am I right?
I mean, if only they didn't kill Slipknot in the last one.
Iowa album will still be great.
I think what I'm hoping for with this one is maybe, well, less fucking army men. Like, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
I just want the squad on their own mission.
More Harley.
And I think it would be cool. Well, I mean, Harley's obviously like a staple of that.
What's your position on Harley?
No, bad way to phrase that question. We're moving on.
God damn.
I think what I'd hope is, you know how you said you really like Arkham Asylum as a video game because it's like
I get it,
because it's enclosed. I don't mean specifically
yes
like Arkham, but
yes.
I think having the squad by themselves in like an enclosed thing, not like wandering.
I
through
want a
a
bottle
bombed-out
episode.
city.
Yeah,
yeah, something like that. That really like raises the stakes and pits them almost against each other, but they have to work together even though
less
they're all
about
out
the
for
elements
themselves.
and more about like the interpersonal like relationships.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Like
I mean, which is what the first one should have been, but you know, I hopefully will be in the second one. I'd also like to see more kind of classic Suicide Squad characters. I'd love to see Count Vertigo in there, or Bronze Tiger, or something like that. But
what I would actually want is either a more enclosed space, or a really vast space. One of my biggest issues with the last one was that it was like they basically went from like the beginning of a street to the end of a street.
Yeah.
And like, so it wasn't really a journey as much as they like went, like they walked a few feet, went in a building and then walked through the building.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was just like, you could see how it could have been really good because you were getting that enclosed sort of environment, but like they just kept like bouncing around this whole building as if it was this giant landscape. And it didn't make sense to me. So I feel like either like enclose them or give them like a big vast space, because I mean there's these people with like really great abilities and you got to see them basically just walking in line the whole time.
But if it's going to be like a broader like an urban thing, then you got to make it more like the Italian Job. It has to be like they can't be on foot. Like it's got to be like
you want to put the Suicide Squad.
Harley hijacks a car and Captain Boomerang's like hanging off the back. Or,
that would be rad.
It's got to be like high octane.
Or like they have to go into Arkham and like deal with shit.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
You know what I'd like to see? The Suicide Squad in a Scooby-Doo thriller type of movie.
Ray?
Ride Rod?
Very grim.
And then they like tear the face off of somebody.
rhyme anything.
They tear the face off of the bad guy at the end, and it's just his skull underneath.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's not a mask.
No.
That's the one trope they invert in the Scooby-Doo thing. Is they just rip the janitor's face off.
Ooh.
And he would have got away with it had he not had his face ripped off.
Jesus.
Jeez.
Dark.
Real dark.
DC teases Action Comics number 1000 with free Superman comic you can read right now.
So-
or a little bit ago.
Yeah. I mean, it is released, but basically, Action Comics 1000 will have a bunch of different Superman stories in it. It's a big compilation, sort of celebration of
Very
80
excited.
years of Superman. But they did release one. I think it's like a 4-page story. One of the ones that will be in there, but I think it's just to get everyone.
Is it
sort of
hard
pumped.
copy that you can get it, or is it just online?
Oh, like the 4-page one?
Yeah.
I think it's just online. I don't think they've released it just as like a.
Because that would be a sweet collector's item.
Yeah, it would be. Although I'd rather just have the whole issue that also has that in there. But
I want the whole thing.
yeah, I know. I'm so demanding.
Yeah.
But yeah, they released the one story just to get everyone sort of excited about the spirit of this sort of big Superman milestone that's happening. So yeah.
And first look at Shazam's outfit in the new movie.
Did you?
Yeah, I
see
saw it. I actually like it.
I do too. And
I know
think-
what it's supposed to be.
And I think generally people do like it. Some people are complaining because it's too bright looking, like it's too colorful. But these are probably the same people that were like, Superman's suit is so like blah. Like, why isn't it more colorful? So, I mean, I like that they're doing that. The best. A lot of people have their criticism has been that it looks too cartoony. Like it almost looks fake. And one person put up a picture of what the fuck is the name of the superhero from Jingle All the Way?
Oh my God.
Someone put like, was it Turbo Man?
Oh.
Put that next to it because the colors are similar or whatever. I mean, the best
Somebody call Arnold Schwarzenegger to clean up this mess.
the best rebuttal that I've seen to that was that someone pointed out that like Billy Batson is a kid, and then that he gets a suit created by magic. So he gets like all of these powers, he becomes a superhero, and the magic manifests itself as what he believes a superhero to be, which is this bright, colorful kind of thing.
Yeah, like childlike joy and wonder for superheroes.
Exactly. But yeah, so we've seen a bunch of these unofficial images. There's still been no like official costume like photo, like a an actual photo shoot like shot.
No.
There still hasn't been those, but they've been filming outside in Toronto, so it's like there's been more and more sort of
Well, Zachary Levi
shots.
posted a photo of himself too.
Yeah.
There was one where he put a mustache on himself and sent it to Henry Cavill.
Well, yeah, and then Henry Cavill replied, he was like listing the powers of Shazam.
Yes.
So it was like wisdom of Solomon,
Yeah.
strength of Hercules, stamina of Atlas, power of Zeus, courage of Achilles,
Yeah.
mustache of
a
legend.
legend. Yeah.
Which is, someone else took the pictures of like
I
two
saw
of
the
them,
two of them
like the
together,
Super Mario
yeah.
Bros. Yeah.
It's very funny.
But I actually really like this costume, and there's one little video someone took of something they were shooting where I guess he like stops a bus from crashing or whatever, and then people are getting off the bus, and you can see like just from it's taken from really far away, but you can see his body language. He's like a kid, and he's like, "Hey, yeah, I like saved the day," or whatever. Everyone just walks away, and he's just kind of like there.
That's
looks
really funny.
It looks like the movie's gonna sort of have that fun to it, which they've been telling us, but it's nice to see bits. So.
And Zachary Levi makes a lot of sense for that.
Yeah.
Rupert Gregson Williams confirmed to score James Wan's Aquaman.
If that name doesn't just mean anything to you, you always do Ghostbusters.
Isn't that what he's
I'm trying to do Wonder Woman.
best known for?
No, he's the guy who scored Wonder
Well, I didn't say
Woman.
I'm not doing that.
It's pretty close.
That's no.
He's the guy that scored Wonder Woman, and Wonder Woman has a really really great a really great film score, especially in that No Man's Land sequence and all that stuff. So he is doing all of the music for Aquaman. which comes out like at the end of this year. So.
And not surprising, it's going to sound like the underwater level in Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah. No, I am pretty excited. I'm obviously excited for the Aquaman movie, but I think he's a good choice to score it. I think there's a lot of similar like thematic elements when you're taking like this like land of myth and then someone who's looking for their place in like our world, and that like I think there's a lot of considerations that would be familiar score wise from Wonder Woman to Aquaman. So yeah.
This has me smiling like an idiot. Joker origin film to portray Batman villain as failed 1980s comedian.
Yeah.
And there's been a video going around of an audition from Tommy Wiseau.
That's unrelated.
It's unrelated, but should it be?
Yes.
Oh, why though?
Because he's a terrible actor.
Yeah, it'd be perfect for this.
So, just quickly.
Failed 1980s comedian. Like, though his thing was the late 90s.
Well, we don't know how old Tommy Wiseau is.
No, Tommy Wiseau doesn't know how old Tommy Wiseau is.
Or he's taking that secret to the grave, if he ever dies. Yeah, so the thing with this standalone Joker movie that's not part of the DCEU, this is the one that Joaquin Phoenix may or may not be playing the role. This is the one that Martin Scorsese, I think, has some sort of producing role in. But basically, they're clearly drawing from The Killing Joke, at least in terms of that type of origin for the Joker, that he's like a failed stand-up. Yeah, I mean, that's not a surprise. The Killing Joke is one of very few stories to offer like a pretty concrete origin for the Joker. So if you're making a Joker origin movie, that seems like the source material to go to. I'm still like not that excited about this movie.
I am. That's the thing, is that like I think Joaquin Phoenix is gonna now knowing that like he's going to be doing like the failed comedian thing. It totally makes sense for him to be that actor. Like,
I just don't care about the Joker as a person. I care about the Joker as
he's not a person, idiot. He's a villain.
Well, but that's the only bit that I care about.
Oh,
I don't.
Sorry,
I
my apologies. I don't know person.
The Joker's origin doesn't interest me. I only care about the Joker versus Batman, or the Joker like versus the Justice League, or like him as a force of nature. I could give a shit if he like worked at a gas station first and then he was like, oh, maybe I'll tell a joke. Like, who gives a shit? Well, made up origin you give him. Like, I only care about the end game, like the Joker. I have zero interest.
A lot of the stuff that's going online though is that it's going to be the Killing Joke. I mean, and that's not without a lot of that other stuff. Like,
it's the number one thing I don't like about the Killing Joke. Well, sorry, number two thing. Number one is the Barbara Gordon thing.
Yeah,
the number two thing I don't like about the Killing Joke is just offering an origin. I mean, the Killing Joke even doubles back on it though and says like, sometimes I remember it differently. Like they cast doubt on it, and that's fine. But then
maybe they'll do that for this, right?
But then why even make it?
Because it's a side. But it's not like it's not canon.
Because there's been too much fucking superhero stuff. It's time for some villain stuff. Let's get to it.
But there are so many other villains. I just I'm not tired of the Joker.
Here's my one concern about a Joker movie coming out is the fact that everyone is still so fucking in love with the Heath Ledger performance, and like they're not going to give it a fair shake. That's the one and only thing that I'm concerned about.
I think that's a generation.
How do you follow that Jared Leto performance? Who's with me?
And the crowd goes mild.
The crowd goes mild.
I feel like you can bring a new Joker to a generation, which they tried to do with Jared Leto, and I don't think it happened. I think that
because Jared Leto tried to go fucking insane.
But here's my question: why do we have to be on his side? There are so many villains that we can kind of get on their side. You know, like we talked about Black Panther a little bit. Like Killmonger is a great villain because you
is there a Two-Face movie out?
No, there's not. No. But there's lots of characters that you can get on their side. They don't all have to be like that. And the Joker's like staying power in comics is that you're not on his side. He's
I'm on his side.
He's just there, and he's just evil, and he's just chaos.
Like,
why do I want to care about him?
Making a Joker that like paralyzes a girl is not going to make you on his side.
Well, no, but the whole like, oh, but he just had like a bad day. He was pushed too far.
He's pushed into a chemical vat. That's what he's pushed.
My true feelings about the Killing Joke are coming out.
I know. I'm just surprised
I
because it's
love
such
the
a great
joke, and I hate most things.
I know.
The Killing Joke is a classic piece of like Batman literature, but like I just don't care about the Joker's origin. Other than he used to not be the Joker, and then he tangled with Batman and fell in a vat and became the Joker.
So
that's the only bit I
can you disconnect yourself from that when this comes out and is a really good movie?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I mean, because there's, I mean, like I even said in our Justice League episode, I was fucking smiling like an idiot watching Justice League. I had a great time, but that's a shitty movie. like it's that movie's got problems. But I think I can sort of evaluate the two things separately.
Yeah.
But and I'm obviously going to see it. I say I'm not excited, but I'm still going to see it. It's a superhero movie. Like, who am I kidding?
A super villain movie.
Sorry. Yes.
Anyways.
Now on to the Doctor's polls.
Yeah. The one I wanted to talk about that I was pretty excited about is I finally got the first issue of The Terrifics, which was spinning out of the events of Dark Knight's Metal. Mm-hmm. So The Terrifics is Jeff Lemire.
Yep.
And he's basically putting together, you could call it like DC's Fantastic Four. But the premise, and it's set up in this first issue, is that Simon Stagg, corrupt businessman, is trying to open a portal to the dark multiverse, loses control of it, and Mr. Terrific, Metamorpho, and Plastic Man get sucked into the dark multiverse. And in there, they meet up with Phantom Girl. And this series is going to be the four of them trapped in the remnants of the dark multiverse, trying to escape, trying to get home. So this is like their sort of like cosmic odyssey. But it is fantastic. I mean, it's very blatantly Fantastic Four-esque. Plastic Man is the stretchy one. Like Phantom Girl can go intangible, but that's like that version of invisible. Mm-hmm. Mr. Terrific is the brains, like Mr. Fantastic is, but he's like a tech guy. And then Metamorpho is like the muscle. He's the big kind of monster, like the Thing. So the first issue was great. It was a ton of fun. It's very like colorful. It's nice to see Plastic Man like back in it. He's been sort of absent from comics for a long time. Mm-hmm. And I think it's gonna be a ton of fun. I love Jeff Lemire anyway, but I love like the concept of it. It's like a big ridiculous sci-fi adventure with characters that you normally wouldn't put together. Yeah, I'm super excited to see where it goes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now onto this week's theme: Shapeshifters.
Shapeshifters.
Are we doing the Sam Roberts thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a great song.
Isn't it just Shapeshifter?
Shapeshifter. I know, but we're trying to fucking meld things together.
Maybe try harder or lose the S in Shapeshifters.
Wow, so much attitude. So much attitude.
Like, you control how this stuff comes out. Anyways, we're going to go to some questions. On Facebook, Josh Gill.
Old Gillig.
I love that your enthusiasm never wanes.
No, it's
ever. Like I could be the most monstrous person to you ever. And
well, yeah, but let's not test it.
I'm always a consummate professional.
Someone has to be.
Gross. What are the differences in the power sets of Elongated Man and Plastic Man? It seems to me that Plaz is shown shapeshifting more often than Ralph.
Right. So these are two characters that you could classify as stretchy heroes: Plastic Man and Elongated Man. Plastic Man is Patrick Eel O'Brien. Elongated Man is Ralph Dibny. There's
Dibny.
There is a pretty fundamental difference between them.
I can try to.
No.
And it's important not to confuse the Elongated Man from the comics with what they've done with him in the Flash TV show. The Flash TV show Elongated Man actually has more properties of Plastic Man than his comic counterpart does. So in the comics, Ralph Dibny takes this extract called Gingold, and it allows him to stretch. He can't change like his shape. Like he couldn't make himself a donut other than like touching his head to his feet. But he couldn't like put a hole in the middle of it. Like he can't actually change the shape he is. He can only stretch. Plastic Man actually becomes like plastic. He becomes polymerized, so he can actually completely change his shape. He can, like if someone like shoots a like a rocket or whatever at him, he could just open up the middle of him and it could pass through him and it can close out.
That doesn't seem very responsible. He's just like putting other people in danger.
Well, yeah, and
Shouldn't he turn himself into a missile baseball glove and catch it softly?
He probably should.
Yeah, what a dick.
But this is the other thing. Plastic Man is basically indestructible.
Again, why would he spread himself open then to not just catch a rocket?
Okay, it was a bad example. It wasn't.
Terrible.
It's just. I just wanted to show that he could make a hole. At any rate, Jesus.
Can't we all?
Plastic Man is almost indestructible. The Elongated Man isn't. He's still a person. He also has to regularly take that Gingold extract, or he can't keep stretching. So that's like a pretty big difference between them. But also, I think like the Elongated Man, you could cut him or shoot him or things like that. Like he's not just polymerized. The Plastic Man is. He was once like frozen and shattered and like left on the bottom of the ocean for like millions of years, and then they finally put him back together.
Like the rest of the plastic that's floating around in the ocean right now.
Precisely like that. Yeah, exactly. And Plastic Man like retained his consciousness through that. It actually kind of drove him nuts a little bit. But you can't do that to the Elongated Man. If you do that to Ralph, he's dead.
He just drowned to death.
Well, I think he would probably die with the shattering before the.
Oh yeah, that part.
but yeah,
the freezing bit.
Those are pretty big. But the other thing is that Plastic Man gets his powers from like he's doused in a chemical. He doesn't have to keep getting doused. He doesn't have to maintain his power the way the Elongated Man does. He just is plastic now. So yeah, I mean that's kind of the big difference between them. I think in the Justice League animated series, you don't see Plastic Man, do you? You do see Elongated Man. I don't know that there are very many team ups of the two of them.
You know what they say: once you go plastic, you never go back. Kid.
Yep.
Wink.
Perfect. Seamless.
Nailed it.
Yeah. Hopefully that answers the question.
Josh Gill has a question.
Whoa. Deja vu?
Old Gil?
Deja entendu?
Old Gil!
To what extent can Animal Man shapeshift? Does the degree of shapeshifting vary from writer to writer, or has there been a defined limit?
So Animal Man is not the full avatar of the Red. He's the guardian of the avatar of the Red. But basically he gets powers from the connected consciousness of all animal life. As opposed to Swamp Thing, who gets his from plant life, from the green. Now, that allows Animal Man to get the powers of animals, like the strength of, like the relative strength of an ant, for example, or something like that. It also allows him to kind of control animals a little bit. But because he's actually the guardian to the avatar, his daughter is meant to be the avatar of the Red, but he's just got the powers until she's old enough to take them, essentially. He is given at one point by the Parliament of Limbs some mild shape-shifting abilities. He can't do like what Beast Boy does and fully turn into like a rhino or fully turn into a gorilla, but he can, if he's channeling gorilla powers, he would get like gorilla arms, and his face would kind of contort a little bit. He'd almost look like a partial transformation, where he could get wings and fly and stuff like that. But he always remained like humanoid. Like he never would completely change into an animal. But that was a relatively recent addition to his power set, I think. Like that was the New 52 run of Animal Man, where he's given that ability by the Parliament of Limbs. Normally that's not really like a thing with him. I kind of like it though. It's an interesting like visual to see like, instead of he doesn't just say like I'm using the strength of a you see it like affecting him physically.
He's not like He-Man activate.
He's not doing that or the Wonder Twin thing.
I have the power.
So it's visually more interesting for storytelling as well. But I think that's a relatively recent addition. I'd have to dive back through the old like Morrison Animal Man run.
Morrison!
Perfect. To see if he did that back then, but I'm pretty sure that's a New 52 development. Yeah.
Josh Gill has a question. Are we in Groundhog Day? What the fuck is going on?
Yeah, we're...
Josh just sent a lot of Facebook questions.
Josh Gill owns Facebook now. Since
he's doing like the Agent Smith from the last two Matrix movies. He's just going around assuming other people's like avatars. Like everyone will be Josh Gill by the
Hello,
end of this.
Mr. Anderson.
So Josh asks, since it was able to absorb all the powers of the Justice League, would that make Amazo the most powerful shapeshifter in the DCU?
We've talked about Amazo before.
Yeah, we have. Josh, weren't you listening?
Do you remember who
No, I don't.
Yeah, safe. That's what I thought.
That's why we're going back over.
I'm on your side, Josh.
If you go all the way back to our Mad Science episode 9, I think, we talked about Amazo. He's an android created by Dr. T.O. Morrow. Or no. No, sorry. Amazo is created by Professor Anthony Ivo. T.O. Morrow created Red Tornado. Anthony Ivo creates Amazo, and basically it's an android with the ability to absorb and replicate the powers of superhumans.
Yes, of course.
That includes even like the energy of a Green Lantern's ring. It includes flight, strength, speed, all of those.
But he can't be all of them at the same time, though. I think was
the
thing, wasn't it?
There have been a couple of different versions. Some incarnations have had him sort of cycling through, and maybe the most easily recognizable one is there's an episode of Young Justice where they go to fight the Amazo robot, and that one will he also calls out what he's doing. He's like, access Martian Manhunter, and then he'll go intangible, and access Superman, and he'll stomp on the floor and cause an earthquake. But he's also been able to use them all at once in the comics as well. Now that should theoretically
access A through Z.
Yeah. If he gets Martian Manhunter's powers, for example, and can shapeshift, plus he can keep absorbing other powers like speed and intangibility or whatever, that should, in theory, make him kind of unstoppable. But the thing with Amazo, it's a little bit of just because it's a comic book, but he's an android ultimately. No matter how much strength or speed he gets, he is still a physical thing that can be shut down, can be broken. You just have to hit him hard enough or just repeatedly enough. He can always be dismantled or shut down. No matter how big an obstacle that is or how difficult it is for the Justice League, there's always a way to do it. The other thing with Amazo is that Amazo also, from time to time, in addition to absorbing the strengths of heroes, will get their weaknesses too. So if he absorbs all of Superman's powers, he would also then be vulnerable to kryptonite. So that's kind of the counterbalance. And Martian Manhunter, arguably more powerful than Superman in a lot of ways, and has more powers than Superman. But Martian Manhunter's weakness is fire, which is everywhere. So I think Amazo is actually easier to defeat than he looks like on paper because of those things. A, that he's an android, and B, that he sometimes absorbs their weaknesses too.
Yeah, but can Martian Manhunter leap over the tallest building with a single bound?
Yes, but he can fly.
Oh, then fuck Superman even more.
I think you'd like Martian Manhunter.
Yeah, probably would actually.
Yeah. Ooh.
Is he kind of? Does he hate Superman too?
He doesn't hate Superman. They're teammates for a long time.
He's not fond of him though.
No, I think they're fine.
I probably hate him then.
Wow. This is going to get harder and harder for me to find reading material for Colin.
Just characters that
I have to find
are
protagonists that don't like Superman. Jesus Christ.
Maybe the Dr. Do Not Disturb Colin podcast.
So just an episode, one of those episodes where you mysteriously disappear into the Speed Force or through time. Yeah.
Where I have to go on one of my many retreat vacations to clear all of my chakras so I can put up with this stuff.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, okay.
Totes.
You're putting up.
Yeah, he's Redditing, I'm pretty sure.
He is Reddit.
Oh my god. Hey, the Dr. DC podcast will be right back after this quick break.
This episode of the Dr. DC podcast is brought to you thanks to our supporter. Oh, that's weird. I said that
keep
so
going.
fucked up. This episode of the Dr. D... Bleh.
I'm going to make you keep... I'll keep all this in.
You're going to keep all of it
You
in
know
there?
I will.
Oh, God, you are the devil.
Yeah.
This episode of the Dr. DC podcast is brought to you thanks to our sponsor, Great Lakes Grooming Company. They sent us some products to try, and they're amazing. Personal favorites are pick 2 to mention. Number 1, beard oil, different scents, your love, trusty woods, Clear Creek coffee. Apply some after a shower to nourish your beard. Use the hand relict boar bristle brush to spread it evenly through the beard. Stimulate skin underneath.
I actually love that brush.
I know, me too.
So amazing.
Yeah.
Number 2, beard balm, different scents, your love, trusty woods, Clear Creek coffee. Made from beeswax and lanolin. It seems like something that Ron Burgundy would say.
Why?
Lanolin.
Her name's Lanolin?
Lanolin?
Like lamb's wool?
Protects your beard from nature's harsh extremes like wind, sun, snow, and rain. I don't mind rain. Rain's not so bad. Number 3, pine tar soap. Traditional recipe with added freshness of peppermint. Number 4, Noble Selves hairstyling cream. Medium light holding with a soft feel. Perfect for everyday use and casual styles.
I like that you read the direction that was pick 2 and you're already on number 4.
I know.
Well, I'm reading through them so that I can pick 2
Oh, sure.
to then go back and mention. Medium light holding with a soft feel. Perfect for everyday use and casual styles. Water-based styler, so it washes out easy with soap and warm water. Kind of like Richard's personality. Number 5, peppermint lime lip balm. Perfect for chapped and dry lips. Great Lakes Grooming is meant to be
Wait, I thought you were
easy.
going to pick 2. You said you read 5, so you can pick 2.
Oh, God, okay, fine. The one that I made fun of Richard for using because it's hairstyling cream and he always has Superman hair. And the beard balm because lanolin.
Sure.
Perfect.
Great Lakes Grooming is meant to be easy and ready to use rain or shine. All their products are purposefully designed and environmentally responsible. Handmade in Canada, ready for adventure wherever one may find themselves. And for you lucky listeners, you can get 10% off on all Great Lakes Grooming's regular price products by going to www.greatlakesgrooming.com and using the promo code Dr. DC Podcast. That's www.greatlakesgrooming.com and the promo code is DRDC Podcast. And now on to the show.
And we're back to the show.
Hey!
All right, we're going to Twitter where Josh Gill has no standing.
You have no power here.
Mr. Gill.
Stump Chunkman has a question.
Oh, Stumpy Chunky.
Bleh.
Stump a chunk in the morning.
That was terrible. Oh, God, did you shoot Mexico? I'm so sad now.
He just got guns. I don't know.
Anyways, can Ralph Dibny change his appearance like the Flash CW incarnation? Happened on a recent episode.
Yeah, so...
That Ralph Dibdy or didn't he?
Dibny or Dibny do?
So on a recent episode, Ralph, the Elongated Man, did like completely like change himself into other people. He did it to become the original. That's a cheap trick.
Oh! Oh, God, that was good.
Just surrender.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I had Live at Budokan. I
We're
know
going
that album.
all
What's
the way.
Yeah, so he became the original Clifford DeVoe, and that helped get Barry out of jail. He also used it to become like a mobster, and so it changed his voice, changed his whole appearance. He has to really concentrate on it. A lot of people, I think that that's not a power that the Elongated Man has, but there is comic.
Those
evidence
people we
of
would
it.
call stupid.
Liars,
Stupid idiots.
In the New 52, there was a series called Secret Six that was sort of bringing a bunch of sort of random characters together. Secret Six was a team that Gail Simone had created like pre-Flashpoint, and it was Catman and like Ragdoll, like they're misfits basically. The New 52 team included like Porcelain, Black Alice, Catman, this character called Big Shot, and basically. Yeah, they were all sort of thrust together by the Riddler, who had sort of... They were forced to become a team because they were all against the Riddler, basically. And this character, Big Shot, he was just this big, like, tough guy with his like big nose, and his power was that he could just like expand himself. And you were sort of, he's kind of a mystery. He's a brand new character, and you're sort of learning bits about him through the series. And then it finally dropped that Big Shot was Ralph Dibny in disguise. He was the Elongated Man, and he was in disguise going after the Riddler because the Riddler had his wife. That's my wife.
I was waiting for it.
But so that Ralph had spent like weeks, months even, as Big Shot.
Spend weeks on this.
He was in a different human form for a very long time with a different voice and everything. So he can do it. It's in the comics. That's a power that he has. I imagine that it's especially difficult for him, though. It's not as easy as just, stretching an arm or anything like that.
Or as easy as 1, 2, 3.
Stretch Armstrong.
Or
His arms are the
ABC.
stretchiest.
Yeah. Oh, Stretch Armstrong. That takes me back. But yeah, so that power that the Elongated Man has displayed on the Flash TV show is absolutely a power that he's had in the comics.
So Stump Chunkman is doing his best
Are we doing-
Josh Gill impersonation on Twitter.
Stump.
Good one. Yeah, again. Who would be the most villainous shapeshifter?
Most villainous.
I'm starting to wonder if Josh Gill isn't Stump Chunkman.
I've never seen them both in the
Stump
same room.
Chunkman.
I've never
Josh
seen them
Gill.
both in the same room. Good for Stump if he's Josh Gill, because Josh is pretty handsome.
So fucking handsome.
Or maybe
You know what?
good for Josh for being Stump Chunkman.
Well, if they're the same, yeah, then they're all
Stump's
handsome.
pretty handsome himself, I think.
Well, if he's Josh.
Sure.
I'm caught in a logic loop.
Yeah, I know. You're just
Quick, help me. Who's the most villainous shapeshifter? I don't think it's Clayface, because we just went through this whole arc about Clayface trying to redeem himself. Spoiler alert if you haven't finished reading that arc in Detective Comics, but Batwoman killed him.
to death.
Yeah, Clayface is dead.
permanently.
Forever.
Yeah, it's comic book.
I
probably
think
not forever.
I think the most villainous
5 ever.
the most villainous shapeshifter, I think, is a character called Byth Rock. He's a Hawkman
Is
villain.
it Bith Rock or That Rock?
Byth Rock or that Rock? It's Byth.
McFly.
Not Biff. Yeah. Byth Rock is another Thanagarian. So that Silver Age Hawkman was an alien from the planet Thanagar. His name was Katar Hall. And Byth is another Thanagarian, but he consumes this. I'm going to forget the name of the thing. But he consumes this plant or something, and it gives him the ability to shapeshift. So shapeshifting is not a Thanagarian superpower. But Byth has it and becomes this, like, super villain. He's one of Hawkman, like the Silver Age Hawkman's biggest villains. But he has sort of no limit on the size or the scope that he can shapeshift into, but it's like any animal, any person. And yeah, he's been like giant monsters, or he's just like given himself like extra arms or stuff like he could do pretty much anything. But it's his actual like body, whatever this thing that he took was.
Mhm.
It actually does it to him. He's not like made of clay or something like that. He's not stretching. He's just, his body can constantly sort of change and grow and morph and into anything at all.
So he goes to yoga classes regularly then.
I mean, he might. Are you saying because it would make him flexible enough?
Correct.
Right. I don't know that counts
And
as super
open,
villainy.
open to change.
I don't think super villainy is cheating at yoga. I think.
Isn't it though?
Well, I mean,
I've been to one yoga class in my whole life. Never again.
okay, and that's relevant.
Yoga's hard, man.
Okay.
Old ladies fart there.
What kind of yoga are you
What?
going to?
The free one at the YMCA.
So Byth Rock is this villain, this alien, but because he's got such a crazy power with basically no like limit on it, and he's in outer space, he has access to like space travel and high technology, and he's from Thanagar and all of these things. Like he's someone that's very dangerous. He's become sort of a big cosmic villain. Not always, but he was a villain for a bit in the Justice League United series. Yeah. I'd say Byth Rock. I mean, I know Clayface is maybe the more obvious choice. That's a shapeshifter everyone knows. He's a classic Batman villain, or classic now, I guess. He's relatively modern. But I don't think. Well, I think this previous arc proved that he wasn't villain. He wasn't the villain. He was his own victim in a way.
He wasn't villainous. He was villainish.
Well, he had been a villain, but yeah, he had left that behind it. He was trying to turn over a new leaf before Batwoman killed him.
He like turned in his villain costume for some khakis and like.
Well, for him, he just changes because he's a shapeshifter. But yeah, he just shapeshifted out of his khakis or into them.
Into khakis,
right.
Yeah.
Get out of those jeans.
Get
into those khakis. Get out
of my.
Yeah,
I got it. Yeah.
Good one. Yeah, that's hilarious. Warlock Thanos podcast asks, whatever happened to Mirage from Team Titans?
Oh,
Is it Team Titans or Teen Titans?
Well, Mirage was on Team Titans.
The Titan team?
Mirage?
Was it a team of Titans?
It's it's Team Titans.
Oh.
Mirage is a real kind of like tertiary character.
You sure want to like move along from this? It's like you're hiding something about it. Does the Doctor have a secret?
I was
find out next week on the Adventures of Radio in the World.
I was just gonna give it away. I was just gonna say I was Byth Rock the whole time.
Oh,
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Well, that was stupid.
Way to go, McFly.
Byth, gotta stop Byth. Mirage had her origin during the course of 0 Hour, which was this big like time crisis event.
Did that happen around 9 a.m.?
No.
Okay.
No, I see what you're doing there.
Yeah.
But Extant and Parallax were the villains of 0 Hour, and partway through their crusade to erase all of time and start things over again, the Time Trapper, a Legion of Superheroes villain, basically plucked a couple of people out of the time stream, and they gained some powers, and the Time Trapper was trying to use them to fight Extant and Parallax. And Mirage is one of them. Now, Mirage technically, I don't think counts as a shapeshifter. She doesn't actually change her form, but she does have the power of like illusion casting. So she can appear as someone else, but I don't think she actually physically like morphs. She doesn't actually like her nose won't change shape, but you'll just see it differently. Mirage's power is that she makes you like see an illusion, and she could use that as camouflage or for other purposes. But I think technically that's not shape-shifting.
She would be a lot of fun at a party.
I mean, superpowers in general, I think, would be fun at parties. Unless it was invisibility. That's not that fun.
It could be, though, if you're an introvert.
Then why are you at the party?
Well, because, your therapist told you that you need to get out more.
So, sorry, you have a superpower that allows you to avoid human contact, but you're still listening to your therapist?
This was a hypothetical thing. This wasn't, like, me being like...
No, I know, but what I'm saying... That doesn't hold any water.
It doesn't have to. It's not a cup.
The cup was Byth Rock the whole time. I think that illusion casting kind of serves the same purpose because she could basically quote unquote become anyone that she wanted, but it's not really shape-shifting because it's not like altering the structure of her skeleton or her like musculature.
Thus my comment about her being fun at a party, because she could be like 400 different things to 400 different people at a party.
Oh, see, now that's interesting. I actually don't know if Mirage has the ability to simultaneously appear differently to different people, or if she just casts an illusion and then everyone sees the same illusion. That's an interesting...
Because
that's an interesting question.
When you see a Mirage, like, people have talked about being out in like deserts and stuff like that. They see, the oasis, right?
Yeah.
So that's something.
Or Blur, depending which one you were into.
That's
nice.
That's something that you would be longing for, right? So you've created that vision in your mind out of, So maybe her name based on that. Like I don't fucking know because I don't read these things.
I don't know.
You're the doctor.
I don't know that there's comic evidence for that, but her powers are like psionic in nature. So I think I guess if she had enough control over it, or if she was powerful enough, she could probably appear as different things to different people. but I don't know if that's ever actually happened.
That'd
in
be
the
really
comics.
cool.
Yeah, that would be neat.
I'd like to know about this. DC execs, we know you're always listening.
That would be like a big power move, though. I think that would be like the like the climax of a story or something.
Like a huge story arc.
It would be like a real expenditure of like effort on her part, I think, to do something like that.
But she would like need to for some like major reason.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of cool. I'd like to see that in a comic.
That power would have really like lessened the tension in what is it, the second or the third act of Mrs. Doubtfire?
Oh my God.
He just
Jesus Christ.
well, I'm just saying.
That would have lessened the whole thing.
Yeah. Basically would have made that movie like a null point. Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been called Mirage, not Mrs. Doubtfire. You fucking asshole. Crack a Theme podcast. Man, we're getting some podcasts are listening
I know.
to us.
It's nice.
Who are some of your
Very
favorite
incestuous.
female what?
It's keeping it in the family. Podcasts.
We're all podcasters.
Yeah.
Literally, we're all podcasters. Everyone on the planet has a podcast.
Has the potential to be a podcaster.
Oh, yeah.
Who are some of your favorite female DC shapeshifters? For Marvel, mine's got to be Mystique, but I can't think of any DC counterparts.
I mean, if you counted Mirage, we just mentioned her.
Boom, done.
But I don't, because she's not actually shapeshifting. So I think the one I would mention is the Element Woman. When I was talking about the Terrifics earlier, I mentioned Metamorpho. He's also known as the Element Man. Basically, he can turn himself into any sort of like gas, liquid, solid, but any element. He can sort of transmute himself. But he can't look human. He's kind of monstrous looking. The Element Woman, same deal. Basically the exact same powers. She's a relatively recent character, but she has the powers of Metamorpho.
They should call her Elemental.
Oh, that's actually like a weirdly good name.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, I'm good at naming stuff.
Yeah. She's a very like friendly, kind of bubbly character. She's a good counterpoint to Metamorpho, who's always got like the "I'm a monster."
She's having a rough time all the time.
Oh, he hates it. Yeah, he's not digging it. But Element Woman is this very sort of like fun-loving, bubbly.
Can we just
sort of
start
personality.
calling her Elemental all the time now?
I mean,
Until they get their shit together. and
You
rename
can,
her.
but if people go to look her up because because they've heard the podcast and they're like, sounds like a
Alright,
neat
fuck,
character.
Fine.
I got to give them something so they can actually find.
I just hope that maybe the DC execs are listening and they'll just change it before I, send millions of people, droves of them, over to the internet looking for Elemental, and she's not there.
Our full billion listenership.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're welcome, DC.
Yeah.
God.
You're welcome, Great Lakes Grooming. All billion of those people are listening.
Yeah. Unfortunately, none of them have hair or lips,
They all have alopecia, so it's
And
really
none of-
like not a good campaign.
and apparently they're like English from the 14th century, so none of them bathe very regularly either.
Yeah. Wow, real swing and a miss there, eh?
Ooh, son of a bitch.
Yeah, I think I would say Element Woman. I like her power. I like the ability that she can change her shape, but she can also like change her form. She can like become like a gas and like get through a grate, or she can turn her arm into lead, or like there's lots of different versions of usefulness. Not only changing shape, but also changing like the material you are as well. So I find that interesting. I always liked that power. And it's nice in a character that isn't like constantly like doubting their own like worthiness as like a being that exists. It's a little bit more lighthearted. Yeah, I think the Element Woman. To be honest, actually, DC doesn't have a ton of female shapeshifters. That is not really a thing. So I'd say the Element Woman, almost by default. But
Well, it's great that you led us through all of that.
why did you wink?
Long
Wasn't
box.
it great? I was really trying.
No. It was super great.
It was great.
Was it though?
No, yeah, it was
great.
It was so great.
I've never felt so insecure, but you're saying nice things.
Yeah,
So,
way to neg him.
Oh.
The Long Box of Darkness.
I've seen that one movie.
Jesus.
Safe search off.
Incognito.
Marvel has an entire race of shapeshifters with the Skrulls. Is there a DC equivalent? I could Google this, but I'm lazy.
Ah, yes.
This is
Okay, first thing,
Oh,
your
God, here we
Twitter
go.
handle
I knew it.
is Long Box of Darkness. That's like 1 billion syllables. Clearly, you're not that lazy.
Yeah, let's count them out. Long
One
box of
billion.
dark billion. Yep. That's,
Yeah, each word got one of those.
So first things first. This is 2 questions in a row that have mentioned Marvel. Like, is everyone? This is not. Okay, the reason I paused there because this is bad for an audio medium. Colin was just patiently waiting for Richard to look at him so he could flip him the bird.
Much like
And
most of the podcast, Colin just patiently waiting for me to look at him.
And the tension got to me, and I got distracted, and I couldn't keep talking. So that's why there was that pause there. Yeah, first of all, we keep bringing Marvel up, guys.
I don't know if you know what podcast this is.
kind of cutting me deep. But
Yeah, Long Box of Darkness gives a shit.
But the answer is that DC does have a race of shapeshifters. Who, like the Skrulls, you can make
Really
the
good
argument.
tune.
Yeah,
by
I
the
know.
way.
It is a really good
You
song.
can make the argument that they're kind of antagonists. But the race, they're called the Derlins. They're
Sounds like a Harry Potter like family.
yeah, it does. Well, like the Dursleys.
Yeah,
yeah.
that's what it is. Okay.
The Derlins on their home world, they
Derns.
all have the ability to shapeshift. But there was some cataclysm on their planet. And it basically, they used their shapeshifting abilities to survive, but they had to constantly keep changing their shape. And eventually the entire race forgot what their original form was.
Whoa, that's fucking cool.
So they sometimes just appear as like a mass of tentacles. Sometimes they appear as like humanoid with like orange skin. But the Derlins in general are like very like xenophobic. They actually try to invade the Earth with the Dominators.
Hold on a second. They're orangish humanoids that are xenophobes?
Yes.
Holy fuck, one of those guys got into a suit and is now the president of the United States.
Oh.
Derlin president. I mean,
President Derlin.
how would we know? Because the Derlins can shapeshift. But basically, the Derlins invaded Earth with the Dominators during the invasion storyline. But the most famous Derlin is basically in the future. Chameleon Boy, a member of the Legion of Superheroes, comes from the Derlin race, and when he comes to Earth, he realizes that like people are like super distrustful of him because A, he's a Derlin, and B, he's a shapeshifter specifically. And it kind of like shocks him that like people are suspicious of shapeshifters, like because he's a nice guy.
Just a regular dude.
So he starts doing all sorts of like charity work and like helping people out, and starts superheroing, and then becomes a member of the Legion. I think he and Colossal Boy end up in the Legion at the same time, or inducted at the same time rather. But he's probably the most famous Derlin, and he's a good
The
one.
most famous Derlin of all.
And the laziest Derlin of all was Garfield.
That fat orange bastard.
Okay, now just for the record, not everyone orange is a Derlin.
You sure about that?
Well, I mean, I couldn't be because they're
is-
shapeshifters. But
Is Snooki from the Jersey Shore, is she a Derlin?
that's a reference. My God, when did we record this?
They're actually getting a new season.
No, they're not.
Yes, they are.
No, they're not.
Yeah, they are. Look at
You're a Derlin.
your mom's Derlin.
Oh!
My mom was Byth Rock the whole time.
Oh, man. Remember that one time you said that and it was funny and then
Yeah.
now it's just sad?
Yeah.
What?
Barry Allen.
Oh,
Very. He's cashing checks.
All over the country. Speaking of jokes that just are so
Just
funny.
fall out of a chair.
So funny. But yeah, so the DC equivalent of a shapeshifter race are the Derlins.
Mm-hmm.
And we've really encountered them through the Legion of Superheroes, but I believe there was a relatively recent arc of Green Lantern. I say relatively recent, it's like within the last 4 or 5 years, where Derlins impersonated, I think, a bunch of the Green Lantern Corps and kind of wrecked their reputation like through the galaxy. And then Hal had to take the blame for it, and that's when he went like renegade with the Gauntlet of Krona. I'm sure I'm missing details in there, and Chad Bokelman will correct me, but the Derlins were involved in an arc with the Green Lanterns relatively recently.
And we've got a single email.
Songle email.
That sounded like a real language.
Imbale.
Vale.
You're not gonna do it, eh?
Huh?
Chicka email.
Oh, chicka email.
Is it weird that I've gotten attached to that?
To the E and the mate gonna chicka email.
Okay. It's Bruce James, which sounds like kind of a fucking rock star name for it, like, but a normal rock star. Like
Rockstar's brother.
He's like an
Colin
accountant.
James's brother.
He's like an accountant. Hi, I'm Bruce James, and we are the guys at TD Bank.
I'm Bruce James, and this is my Air Supply cover band.
Done in the stylings of playing a harp.
My Air Supply cover band, Oxygen Quantity.
Nice.
Bruce, I'm sorry, man. I couldn't help it. I just couldn't. So Bruce goes on to ask, "Hello, doctor and friends." Okay, first of all, fuck you. This is our job.
I was gonna say, I'm his friend.
Well, we're friends, but I mean, like,
But not when we're in here.
not in here though.
In here, it's all business.
It's business
Doctors
time.
and friends.
It's like a 1980s sitcom.
It's Garfield.
Oh, yeah.
That
Garfield.
Derlin.
Fucking Derlin. Hello, doctor and friends. Wondering if you could clear something up for me. When Martian
He's not that kind of doctor.
I'm gonna have a hard time getting through this question.
Take 3 of these and call me in the morning. Yeah.
Oh no, we don't want to go with him.
Oh no.
If only we had someone like
No.
when
Don't
Martian
you dare
Manhunter.
summon him.
Well, excuse me,
shapeshifts-
what? Super tight.
Todd, the files in the other room, they're out of order.
Oh no.
You're out of order. This whole goddamn court's out of order.
Pacino.
Oh, fuck. Okay. Hello, doctor and friends. Wondering if you could clear something up. When Martian Manhunter shapeshifts, do his clothes also shapeshift? Or is it that his clothes are also made of him? Thanks, and keep up the great work.
Do you know what? This is a good question.
It's a great question.
Because that's like the number one number one thing with shapeshifters is like, do they have to keep like a tickle trunk of costumes with them so that when they change
They're
form
not-
they can change their costume? Or
They're not Mr. Dress Up.
that's a super Canadian reference as well. But
Weird if we were from there.
so the answer to this,
Can you imagine? Bacon,
Yuck.
a boot,
Oh boot.
there are two
mooses.
there are 2 separate answers that are completely opposite, and both of them are true. And it just depends on the continuity. I think generally speaking, the Martian Manhunter, his clothes that he wears are also made of him. When he shapeshifts, his cape is like physically, genetically no different from his fingertips. Like it's all the same thing, and he can just manipulate and morph and shape change all of it and change the color of things, etc. But there was, I'm going to forget precisely when in the continuity this was, but there was a Martian Manhunter series or an arc where it was something about his origin, and he was on Mars, and it was this Martian flower that would basically respond to his shape shifting impulses. They had sort of like a symbiotic relationship, and this flower was then all of the material things that would shape change. So he could change his physical form, and then the flower would respond and change the clothes he was wearing. And that was canon for a bit. I don't know if it's just something they just overlook now and it's still technically true, but I don't think it is. I think that little piece of trivia is sort of lost to time now.
Origin, more like Borigin.
Thanks.
But
I sure hope everyone listening's having more fun. Hashtag Borigin. But yeah, so there was a period in time where it was that his clothes would shapeshift, but somewhat independently from him. He could control it, but it wasn't actually him. But I think generally speaking, with shapeshifters, and that includes Clayface, when they make clothes or things like that, it's still made of them.
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of crazy when you think about it. But part of that is that the Martian Manhunter, the reason that he takes on the form that he has, even when you see him and he's green and he's, big and imposing, that's still a more humanoid version. His full Martian form isn't something that he really does in public, because
He's a kind of a private guy. You
Well,
know?
but
he doesn't want to give it all away.
it's partly that, kind of.
He's not like the loose girl.
It's not easy being green, man.
He's not giving it all up.
Well, partly is that
Give it all away.
when he first appeared on Earth, the first person that saw him had a heart attack and died. Dr. Saul Erdell saw a Martian and just promptly died.
Wow.
And he
and
was
so the
like, noted.
Well, so the Martian Manhunter's like, maybe I should look a little closer
Well,
to...
Tone in my look a little bit here.
You know, he's still green, he's still clearly alien, but he makes himself more human looking deliberately.
From the Green Lagoon.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's the answer to that one. Martian Manhunter can make clothes out of himself, but he did for a little while, or possibly still does, have like a symbiotic flower that was all of his like material shape changing.
He's kind of a hippie, hey?
No. He was a cop on his planet. He was the last of the Manhunters from Mars.
Makes
he was
his
a
own,
cop.
Makes his own clothes. He's all down with flowers and symbiosis.
He couldn't have been less of a
Kind
hippie.
of a hippie.
He couldn't have been less of a hippie. He was a cop.
That's not fair, man. People can be whatever they want to be. Cops can be hippies too.
Oh, now I'm the bad guy?
man.
Because I was Byth Rock the whole time. Is it still funny? Is it working?
I'm going on strike.
Yeah, that's that.
Okay. So if you guys want to send some questions like the ones we heard today, you can go through our various social media and digital platforms such as
Facebook,
Dr. DC Podcast.
Instagram,
Dr. DC Podcast.
Twitter,
At Dr. DC.
email,
drdcpodcast@gmail.com.
our professionally designed website.
you,
Oh.
you sweetheart.
Get a room. drdcpodcast.com or .ca.
Or if you want to also get a What Colin Does or give us a 5-star review, and you know what, if you give us a 5-star review and read basically write anything, we'll read it on here. So you can do that
Except
through.
hate speech. We're not reading that.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
We'll see what it is. But you go to iTunes, leave us a 5-star review, and write something nice to us. We'll make sure that we read it on the next episode. So
Yeah,
And-
we've been getting more reviews in it. That helps us a lot.Ose 5-star reviews raises us in the rankings
hell to the
of podcasts. So thank you everyone who's been doing that. Yeah.
And also, don't forget to go over to www.greatlakesgrooming.com and use the promo code Dr. DC Podcast to get a sweet little deal on some grooming products.
Yeah. Exactly. If you've got swell beards and hair like we do.
Oh, they're swole as fuck.
Yeah, swole beards.
Doc's got a swole ass
Bro,
beard.
does your beard even lift?
Oh,
Yeah.
my sad little beard right now.
Yeah, and but yeah, send your questions, send your 5-star reviews, and yeah, we'll see you next week, I guess.
All right. Well, some kind of sign off.
Adios.
Hey guys, I don't know how to tell you this, but I'm a Derlin.
Superheroes, they always fight for what is right. Live with danger.